It's kind of amazing when you think about it. Wind,
Yeah.
well, it's invisible, right? But it can, I don't know, knock down trees, power whole areas,
Mm.
or just feel nice on your skin.
True. We don't usually think twice about it.
Exactly. But what if? What if that invisible thing becomes like a source of absolute terror?
Ah, well, that's where we're going today.
Right. This is our deep dive into something called Ancraophobia.
Or anemophobia, yeah. Our sources dig into this, and it's not just, oh, I don't like windy days.
No, definitely not.
It's a really deep, persistent fear. Wind even just drafts sometimes, and it can seriously dictate how someone lives.
Okay, so anemophobia basically the same thing for this, well, intense fear?
Mm-hmm.
And intense is the word. We're not talking about needing a jumper when it's breezy.
Not at all.
Our sources really hammer home that this fear can be so powerful, people literally avoid normal stuff just to dodge the wind.
Exactly. It shapes their choices, their daily activities.
Yeah.
Avoidance becomes a huge part of it.
So the fear is way out of proportion to the actual, like, danger from the wind most of the time.
Precisely. That's key. The perceived threat is magnified massively compared to the reality. And this shows up in, well, a whole bunch of symptoms.
Yeah, the sources break it down nicely, don't they? Like 4 main types.
That's right. Psychological, physical, mental, and emotional.
Okay, let's start with the psychological stuff. What's actually going on inside someone's head when they encounter wind? Or even just, think about it.
Psychologically, the big one is just overwhelming anxiety hitting them.
Right.
And often there's this deep conviction that the wind is actively dangerous. Like it will hurt them, maybe even kill them,
Wow. Yeah.
which naturally makes them want to avoid it at all costs.
Mm.
And interestingly, the mind really overestimates the danger. It convinces itself the threat is real and immediate, even when objectively it's not.
And that massive psychological hit,
Yeah.
it doesn't just stay in the mind, does it?
Mm.
The body reacts too.
Oh, absolutely. The physical symptoms can be pretty dramatic, actually, and quite distressing for the person.
What kind of things are we talking about?
Well, things like a really dry mouth, tremors like shaking,
Mm-hmm.
chest tightness, breathing really fast, sweaty palms, feeling sick,
Nausea.
nausea, even an irregular heartbeat. And kind of surprisingly, sometimes even flatulence is listed.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Flatulence.
Yeah, it sounds odd, but it really just shows how powerful that mind-body link is with these phobias. The fear triggers very real, very physical responses.
It really drives home how deep this goes. And it's not just the physical side either. There's the mental impact too, right? The thoughts.
Exactly. Mentally, someone might just be completely consumed by thoughts about the wind.
Like obsessive thoughts.
Yeah, obsessive focus makes it hard to think about anything else. They might also get these weird feelings, like things aren't real, or they feel detached.
Depersonalization.
Kind of, yeah. Or feeling like they're going to lose control because of the wind. Even a fear of fainting.
Gosh.
And just knowing it might be windy later can trigger huge anxiety beforehand. That's anticipatory anxiety.
Right. And then if they actually are in the wind.
Then it can be sheer terror, a really strong urge to just run away, to escape.
And all of that, the physical, the mental, it's all built on this underlying emotional response, I guess.
Fundamentally, yes.
Hmm.
Emotionally, it's this pervasive anxiety and fear, specifically tied to the wind and its potential for harm. It's not just, feeling a bit nervous. It's deep-seated.
But it's important to say, like our sources point out, it's not the same for everyone, is it?
No, definitely not. The intensity, the exact mix of symptoms, psychological, physical, mental, emotional, hesitu, it varies a lot from person to person.
Right. Now, you're not born with this, are you? Where does something like Ancraophobia actually come from?
That's a really important point. Our sources are pretty clear. It usually develops. It's not innate.
Okay.
And the main culprit identified is often some kind of psychological trauma, a bad experience involving wind in the past.
So like getting caught in a really bad storm as a kid, maybe?
Could be, yeah. Or something else negative linked to wind. And what's interesting is the person might clearly remember the event, or they might not. It could be something processed more subconsciously without a clear memory attached.
Wow, really? So even if you can't recall a specific scary wind moment, it could still be the root cause. How does that work?
Well, the idea, according to the sources, is this generalized conditioned response.
Like Pavlov's dogs?
Kinda, yeah. The bad experience, the trauma, gets linked with wind. Wind was just neutral before, but through that association, the wind itself starts triggering the fear response.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the sources also mention it might be a mix of things, like external events, the bad experience interacting with internal factors.
Like genetics.
Like
or just being more prone to anxiety.
exactly. Heredity, family history of anxiety. Some people might just have an underlying vulnerability, and then a negative wind experience tips them into developing the actual phobia.
It's interesting, too, how these specific phobias can kind of overlap or connect to other fears. The
Mm.
sources mentioned a couple.
Yes, they did. Like aeroacrophobia, fear of open high places.
Right. How does that link?
Well, maybe because being high up and exposed can feel more vulnerable, and wind can really amplify that feeling.
Yeah, I can see that.
And anemophobia, besides being other name for fear of wind generally, is sometimes used just for fear of air drafts. A bit more specific.
Like just the air from a vent,
Could be, yeah. Moving air indoors. And then there's lelapsophobia.
which is fear of tornadoes and hurricanes.
Right. Much more focused on extreme destructive weather. So you can kind of see a spectrum of wind-related fears there.
Yeah, it makes sense that if you're terrified of a hurricane, you might also develop a broader fear of just wind itself.
It's certainly plausible. The connections seem logical.
So if someone is actually living with this, dealing with an acrophobia day to day, what can they do? Is there help? It's not just something you have to put up with, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. There are definitely treatment options available. Our sources cover a few key ones.
Like medication.
Yes, anti-anxiety meds are mentioned. They can help manage the immediate fear, the anxiety symptoms.
Wow.
But the sources also note potential downsides, side effects, withdrawal issues. So maybe not the first choice for a long-term fix for everyone. Therapy often gets better results long-term.
Right. And cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, that comes up specifically. Why is that one often recommended for phobias?
Well, CBT is really good at helping people identify the negative thoughts, the often irrational beliefs that are fueling the fear of wind,
Okay.
and then challenging those thoughts. Plus, a big part of it is usually gradual exposure.
So facing the fear, but slowly?
Exactly. In a safe, controlled way, facing the feared thing, wind, in this case, step by step. It helps desensitize the person over time, so the fear response gets weaker.
What would that look like? Like standing outside on a slightly breezy day?
Could be. Or even simpler. The sources give an example like starting by just standing in front of an electric fan. In the therapist's office, maybe?
Yeah.
Very controlled.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Building up tolerance safely. And there are other professionals who can help too.
Yes. The list includes psychologists, psychiatrists, also hypnotherapists and hypnotists.
Hypnotherapy, how does that fit in?
The idea there, apparently, is to work with the subconscious mind, trying to get at the root cause of the fear, potentially resolving it on that deeper level.
Interesting, so lots of potential avenues for help.
Definitely. The main goal with any of these therapies is to give people the tools and strategies they need to manage the fear or ideally overcome it.
This has been really, really insightful. And speaking of things I wasn't expecting, that list of famous Ancraophobiacs in the sources.
Ah, yes. Quite surprising, wasn't it?
Some of those names really jumped out at me. Michael Van Gerwen, the darts player.
And the singer Gabrielle, Ioun Warren, the actor Daniel Day-Lewis,
Daniel D. Lewis.
and even Saddam Hussein, reportedly. It's quite a mix.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Phobias don't care who you are or what you do.
Exactly. It's a powerful reminder that, mental health challenges can affect absolutely anyone, often completely privately. You wouldn't necessarily know.
Yeah, you imagine someone like an actor or a world leader.
Yeah,
How does a fear like that play out in their lives? It really humanizes it.
it does. It shows the very personal, often hidden side of these kinds of experiences.
Absolutely. Okay, so just to kind of wrap this up, we've dug pretty deep into acrophobia today, this really intense fear of wind. We've seen it's way more than just not liking a breeze. We talk about the symptoms, psychological, physical, mental, emotional, quite a range.
Yeah, and how it often stems from some past negative experience, maybe even one you don't consciously remember, that conditioned response idea.
Right, and it's links to other fears, like fear of heights or storms.
Yeah.
But crucially, also the treatments that are available.
Yes, from medication in some cases to therapies like CBT and hypnotherapy that aim to really tackle the fear itself.
And looking at acrophobia really does highlight just how complex our minds are, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, how something so everyday, so normal, like the wind, can become the source of profound difficulty for some people. It speaks volumes about the diversity of human experience.
Which kind of leaves me wondering, what other seemingly ordinary things in our world, things we just take for granted, might be deeply frightening for someone else? It makes you pause and think about all those unseen psychological factors shaping people's lives, doesn't it?